Welcome to Better You Podcast, where wisdom meets wealth. Money is not just about numbers. It's about behavior, mindset, and the way we think. In this audiobook series, we decode the hidden psychology behind wealth, success, and financial freedom not through complex formulas, but through real-life stories and timeless lessons. Why do some people build lasting wealth while others struggle? What's the secret to financial success that schools never taught us? Stay with us as we break down the psychology of money. One of the most eye-opening books on finance and life. Get ready to think differently. Get ready to grow. Let's see Chapter 1, No One's Crazy. That's what this chapter is about. It sounds simple, right? But trust me, once you understand this, you'll start seeing money, investing, and financial decisions in a whole new way. Why do people make crazy financial decisions? Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at someone's financial decision and thought, why would they do that? That's insane. Maybe you see someone saving every single penny, never enjoying life. Or someone else spending recklessly, acting like money will never run out. Or maybe you wonder why some people refuse to invest, while others bet everything on risky stocks. It's easy to judge other people's financial choices. But here's the truth, what seems crazy to you, makes perfect sense to them. Why? Because we all see money through the lens of our personal experiences. Let's go back in time for a second. Imagine you were born in 1920. By the time you were 9 years old, the Great Depression hits. The stock market crashes, businesses collapse, people lose their jobs, and banks fail. Your parents tell you, never trust the stock market. Always save. Cash is king. And you grow up watching people hoard every dollar because you've seen how quickly money can disappear. Now, fast forward to 1980. Now, imagine you're born in 1950 instead. You grow up in a booming economy. The stock market is thriving. Investing is making people rich. Every year, wealth seems to multiply. Your parents tell you, invest in stocks. That's the only way to build wealth. You believe in risk-taking because you've seen it work. The same stock market caused one generation to be terrified of investing and another to see it as the golden ticket to wealth. Same reality, different experiences. The lesson 1 is your money beliefs are shaped by your personal history. We don't make financial decisions based on logic alone. We make them based on our own lived experiences. So, let's take two people who come into money. First person, who grew up in poverty wins $10 million in the lottery. Second person is self-made entrepreneur builds a $10 million business. The lottery winner has never handled this much money before. They might spend recklessly, buy luxury cars, and give away money. Because, to them, money is meant to be spent. The self-made millionaire knows how hard it was to earn that $10 million. They might invest it wisely, build assets, and grow their wealth. Because, to them, money is something to protect and multiply. Now, if the entrepreneur looks at the lottery winner, they'll say, they're crazy. How can they waste all that money? And if the lottery winner looks at the entrepreneur, they might say, why are they so stingy? They're rich. Just enjoy life. Who's right? Both of them. They're simply acting based on their own experiences with money. The lesson 2 is the market is a battle of perspectives. Imagine walking into a casino. You see people making completely different bets. Some people bet small and play safe. Others go all in, chasing the jackpot. The stock market works the same way. Some investors buy stocks, believing they'll go up. Others sell stocks, believing they'll go down. Who's right? Depends on their experience. A young investor, who just saw their friends make millions in crypto might go all in. A retired investor who lost money in the 2008 crash might play it safe with bonds. No one is crazy. They're just playing a different game. The lesson 3 is wealth isn't just about numbers, it's about mindset. People assume that financial success is about math and logic. If you follow the right formula, you'll be rich. But in reality, it's about psychology. Some people avoid risk at all costs because they grew up in uncertainty. Others take huge risks because they believe money always comes back. Some people hoard wealth because they fear losing it. Others spend freely because they don't want to die with regrets. Understanding this is powerful. Because once you do, you stop judging others and start learning from them. Let's see key takeaway from chapter 1. Stop judging, start understanding. The next time you see someone making a financial decision that seems crazy, instead of saying, "That's stupid. Why would they do that?" ask yourself, what life experiences shape their beliefs about money? What game are they playing? What lessons can I learn from their perspective? Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make the best financial decisions based on the world we grew up in. Your financial beliefs aren't wrong. But they also aren't the only truth. The way you see money is shaped by your past. But you have the power to reshape your future. Let's see, Chapter 2, Luck and Risk. A chapter that will completely change the way you see success and failure. Here's the harsh reality. Success isn't just about hard work. Failure isn't just about bad decisions. Luck and risk play a bigger role than we like to admit. This chapter will show you how timing, randomness, and uncontrollable events shape our financial lives. By the end, you'll understand why some people win big, while others lose everything, and how you can navigate the uncertain world of money. Let's dive in. Imagine two young boys growing up in the same neighborhood. Both are smart. Both are ambitious. Both have a passion for computers. One of them becomes Bill Gates, the billionaire founder of Microsoft. The other is Kent Evans, Bill Gates' childhood best friend. What's the difference between them? Luck. Bill Gates had all the right conditions to succeed. He was born in an upper-class family that could afford computers in the 1960s. He attended Lakeside School, one of the only schools in the world with a computer. He met Paul Allen, who became his Microsoft co-founder. Kent Evans was just as talented. But before he could achieve success, he died in a freak mountaineering accident. He never got the chance to prove himself. The difference between a billionaire and an unknown name wasn't talent, it was luck. The lesson 1 is luck creates outliers. We love to believe that success is 100% hard work and intelligence. Read any biography, and you'll hear, "I woke up at 5 a.m. every day. I took massive risks. I never gave up." But here's the thing. For every Bill Gates, there are thousands of Kent Evanses who worked just as hard, but never got their break. Think about it. If Bill Gates was born in a poor village, without computers, would he have still built Microsoft? Probably not. If Warren Buffett was born 50 years earlier, before the stock market was developed, would he be a legendary investor? Probably not. If Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook in 1990, instead of 2004, would it have succeeded? Unlikely. Sometimes, people are in the right place, at the right time. The problem? We only see the winners. Now, let's talk about risk. For every lucky success story, there's a heartbreaking failure that we never hear about. In 2006, bankers were making millions of dollars. By 2008, they were bankrupt. Were they geniuses in 2006? Maybe. Were they idiots in 2008? Maybe not. They took risks, and when the tide turned, they lost everything. Luck and risk are two sides of the same coin. One can make you rich. The other can destroy you. And sometimes, you don't even know which one you're experiencing until it's too late. Let's talk about lottery winners. Studies show that 70% of lottery winners go broke within a few years. Why? Because they don't understand money. They think they're lucky, but they don't see the risk. They spend recklessly. They trust the wrong people. They don't build financial habits. Before they know it, they're broke again. What was once luck turned into risk. Imagine two investors. Investor A started investing in 2009. When the market was low, their wealth grew 10x. Investor B started investing in 2007, right before the crash. They lost everything. Same strategy. Same effort. Different outcomes. Who was smarter? Neither. Who was luckier? Investor A. The lesson is timing matters as much as skill. How to apply this to your life? Now, you might be thinking, so, is everything just luck and randomness? No. You can't control luck, but you can control how you respond. The rule 1 is never judge success too quickly. Some people got rich because they were lucky. Some people lost money because they were unlucky. Success is never just hard work. For example, Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook. But, what if he launched it 10 years earlier? It wouldn't have worked. Elon Musk succeeded with Tesla. But, what if he started in 1995? Battery tech wasn't ready. Don't just copy the winners. Look at the timing. The rule 2 is be humble about your success. If you're doing well financially, don't assume it's all because of your intelligence. The world changes. Markets crash. Luck runs out. For example, in 1999, everyone thought .com investors were geniuses. By 2001, most of them were broke. If you're lucky today, prepare for risk tomorrow. The rule 3 is focus on long-term survival. The key to long-term success isn't to be the luckiest person in the room. It's to avoid losing everything when risk strikes. The Warren Buffett's rules are: Rule 1 is never lose money. Rule 2 is never forget Rule 1. The practical tips are: First, diversify your investments. Don't bet everything on one stock or business. Second, save for emergencies. The unexpected always happens. Third, don't take unnecessary risks. A single bad decision can wipe out years of progress. If you're successful, thank luck as much as hard work. If you're struggling, don't be too hard on yourself. Prepare for risk, but keep taking smart chances. At the end of the day, we're all playing the game of luck and risk. The only difference is how we manage it. Let's see Chapter 3, Never Enough. A chapter that exposes a dangerous trap that ruins even the wealthiest people. Here's the brutal truth. No matter how much money you have, you'll always want more. Some people become millionaires, but still feel like failures. Because someone else is richer. Chasing just a little more can destroy your happiness, your finances, and even your life. So, how much is enough? And why do so many people never feel satisfied? By the end of this episode, you'll have the answers, so you can build true financial success without falling into the trap of greed and comparison. Let's see the story of Rajat Gupta, the billionaire who wanted more. Rajat Gupta was a self-made billionaire. He grew up poor in India, lost his parents at a young age, and worked his way to the top. He became the CEO of McKinsey, one of the most powerful consulting firms in the world. At his peak, he was worth $100 million. But guess what? That wasn't enough for him. He wanted more. So, he started insider trading, illegally using secret information to make money in the stock market. He took risky deals with billionaires like Raj Rajaratnam. He was caught, arrested, and sent to prison for 2 years. He risked his entire fortune, not because he was struggling, but because $100 million wasn't enough for him. This is the danger of never enough. Let's see Lesson 1. Knowing when to stop is the key to happiness. Imagine you have $1 million. Would you be happy? Now, imagine you see someone with $10 million. Suddenly, your $1 million feels small. This is what happens to 99% of people. No matter how much they have, they compare themselves to someone richer. A person making $50,000 per year thinks life will be perfect at $100,000 per year. Someone making $100,000 per year dreams of making $1 million. A millionaire compares themselves to a billionaire. And even billionaires feel poor compared to Jeff Bezos. No matter how much you have, there will always be someone with more. The fall of Bernie Madoff, when greed destroys everything. Let's talk about another famous case, Bernie Madoff. Bernie was a Wall Street legend. He ran one of the biggest investment firms in history. He was already a multimillionaire in the 1980s. But, he wanted more. He started a Ponzi scheme, promising investors huge returns. For 30 years, he stole $65 billion from people. In 2008, everything collapsed and he went to prison for life. What's crazy? Even if he had stopped in the 1980s, he would still have been rich and successful. But, greed blinded him. He risked everything and lost everything. Let's see Lesson 2, more money won't solve everything. We think that more money equals to more happiness. But studies show that after a certain point, money doesn't improve happiness. In the U.S. studies show happiness peaks at around $75,000 to $100,000 per year. Beyond that, more money, it creates stress, pressure, and a never-ending chase for more. For example, a middle-class person might enjoy vacations, family time, and hobbies. A billionaire? They're stressed about investments, lawsuits, and security threats. The key is not how much you have, but knowing when you have enough. Let's see the secret to true wealth, knowing your enough number. Ask yourself, how much money is enough for you? Enough to live comfortably? Enough to retire without stress? Enough to help your family and give back? If you don't define your enough, you'll never feel satisfied. No matter how rich you get. Some of the happiest people in the world aren't the richest. They are the ones who know when to say, I have enough. How to apply this to your life? Now, let's talk about practical steps to avoid the never enough trap. The rule 1 is avoid the comparison trap. Don't compare your wealth to others. Someone will always have more. Focus on your own goals and happiness. For example, if you're making $5,000 per month, but living comfortably and stress-free, why chase $10,000 a month, if it comes with more stress and less free time? The rule 2 is define your enough number. Ask yourself, what lifestyle makes me truly happy? What amount of money do I need to achieve that? Once you reach that goal, stop chasing more. For example, if your goal is financial freedom, focus on saving, investing, and living simply. If your goal is early retirement, don't chase status and luxury, chase freedom. Once you have enough, don't take unnecessary risks just to impress others. The rule 3 is avoid greedy decisions. Don't risk what you already have for what you don't need. For example, If you have $1 million in safe investments, don't gamble it on risky stocks just to chase $10 million. If you have a happy, comfortable life, don't trade it for high stress and long hours just to make more. Greed has destroyed more fortunes than bad luck ever could. If you want true wealth, don't just chase numbers. Chase peace of mind. Define your enough and stop when you reach it. Happiness doesn't come from having the most, it comes from having enough and knowing it. Let's see Chapter 4, Confounding Compounding. The Chapter 4 of The Psychology of Money is one of the most mind-blowing chapters in the book. What if I told you that getting rich isn't about being the smartest person in the room? What if the biggest secret to wealth is not picking the best stocks, but simply letting time do the work? The secret to massive wealth isn't intelligence. It's patience. This is the power of compounding, one of the most misunderstood, underrated, and overlooked forces in finance. In this Chapter 4 you will learn about why Warren Buffett is not the best investor. He's just the most patient one. How compounding turns small, boring investments into fortunes. Why most people fail at investing. Not because they pick bad stocks, but because they give up too soon. What is compounding? And why most people get it wrong. Most people think getting rich is about picking the right stocks, timing the market perfectly, finding secret investment tricks. That's completely wrong. The biggest secret to wealth? Letting your money grow over long periods of time. Compounding is when your money earns returns, and those returns earn returns, and those returns earn even more returns. Over time, it snowballs into an unstoppable force. The longer you stay in the game, the bigger your wealth becomes. Let's talk about Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world. His net worth? Over $130 billion. He's considered the greatest investor of all time. People think he's rich because he's a genius investor. But here's what no one talks about. Buffett's biggest secret is not that he's the best investor, it's that he started young and never stopped. At age 10, he was already obsessed with investing. At age 30, he had $1 million. At age 50, he had $376 million. At age 60, he had $3.8 billion. At age 90, he had $130 billion. Did you notice something? Almost 99% of his wealth came after age 50. If Buffett had stopped investing at 60, almost none of his fortune would exist. If he had started later in life, he would never have become this wealthy. The lesson? The biggest factor in wealth is not intelligence, it's time. Let's see the magic of compounding. Let's say you invest $1 today. If it grows 10% per year, after 10 years, it's worth $2.59. After 20 years, it's $6.73. After 50 years, it's $117. After 100 years, it's $13,800. Now imagine you started with $10,000. After 50 years, it's worth $1,173,909. After 100 years, it's $138 million. That's the power of compounding. Your money starts growing slowly, but after decades, it skyrockets. The trick? Stay invested for as long as possible. Why most people fail? That is, I need quick money, trap. The biggest mistake people make? They don't let compounding do its work. They chase quick money. They give up too early. People invest for 1 to 2 years and expect to get rich. When they don't, they sell their investments and say, this doesn't work. They never give compounding enough time to show its power. The first 10 years feel slow. The next 20 years feel unstoppable. If you want to be rich, you have to be patient. Let's see real-life example of the two friends who invested differently. Meet Alex and James, two friends with different investment strategies. Alex is the patient investor. At age 20, Alex starts investing $100 per month in the stock market. He earns 10% per year on average. He keeps investing for 40 years. By the time Alex is 60 years old, he has over $600,000. James is the impatient investor. James waits until age 40 to start investing. He invests $500 per month, 5 times more than Alex. He also earns 10% per year. He keeps investing for 20 years. By the time James is 60 years old, he has only $300,000. That is half of what Alex has. Even though James invested more money, he lost the most valuable thing, that is time. The lesson? The earlier you start, the easier it is to build wealth. Let's see how to apply this to your life. Now that you understand the power of compounding, here's how to use it. The rule 1 is start early, even if it's small. Even if you can only invest $10 per month, start now. The earlier you start, the bigger the snowball effect. For example, if you invest $100 per month from age 20 to 60, you could end up with $1 million. The rule 2 is never interrupt the compound. The worst thing you can do? Withdraw your money early. For example, if Buffett had spent all his money at 50, he wouldn't be a billionaire. If you sell investments too soon, you lose the magic of compounding. The key is to stay invested for decades. The rule 3 is be patient. Wealth grows slow, then fast. The first 10 years feel slow. The next 10 years feel powerful. After 20 to 30 years, your wealth explodes. For example, the first $100,000 takes forever. The first $1 million takes much less time. Don't quit before you reach the tipping point. Compounding is the key to true wealth. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to take huge risks. You just need time, patience, and consistency. Start now. Stay invested. Let time do the work. Think, what's one investment you can start today? Let's see Chapter 5, Getting Wealthy versus Staying Wealthy. Making money and keeping money are two completely different skills. Getting wealthy is about taking risks, being optimistic, and going after opportunities. Staying wealthy is about humility, fear, and making sure you don't lose it all. So many people make millions but then lose everything, because they never learned how to stay rich. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why rich people go broke and how to avoid their mistakes. The secret mindset that keeps wealth growing for decades. The dangerous traps that can destroy your money overnight. Let's see the key difference between getting rich versus staying rich. Most people think that once you're rich, you'll stay rich. That's completely false. History is full of millionaires and billionaires who lost everything. Why? Because they never switched from the getting rich mindset to the staying rich mindset. Getting rich requires taking risks. You have to put money into investments, businesses, or ideas that may or may not work. Being optimistic. You believe the future will bring good opportunities. Going big. You make bold moves and take advantage of the market. But staying rich requires being fearful. You assume something could go wrong at any moment. Being humble. You don't assume success will continue forever. Being consistent. You protect your money and let it grow steadily. The skill that builds wealth is different from the skill that keeps wealth. Why do rich people go broke? Many people who become rich lose everything. They make millions, but then they take too many risks and lose it all. Let's look at some real-life examples. First example is about Jesse Livermore, the man who lost everything. Jesse Livermore was one of the greatest stock traders in history. He made a $100 million fortune in 1929, during the Great Depression. But instead of playing it safe, he kept making bigger and riskier bets. Eventually, he lost it all and died broke. What went wrong? He knew how to make money, but he didn't know when to stop taking risks. He never learned the skill of staying rich. Second example is about Mike Tyson. The $400 million mistake. Mike Tyson was one of the highest paid athletes ever. He earned over $400 million in his career. He lived an extravagant lifestyle, buying mansions, cars, tigers, and jewelry. By 2003, he was completely broke and filed for bankruptcy. What went wrong? He assumed the money would never stop coming, so he spent it without thinking. He never learned the skill of staying rich. The secret to staying wealthy is about survival mentality. Most people focus on how to grow their money. Few people focus on how to protect their money. The key to long-term wealth is survival. You don't need to be the best investor. You just need to make sure you never lose everything. Rule 1 is avoid the "I need more" trap. Most people lose money because they always want more, more, more. They take bigger risks because they think they'll always win. They keep gambling even after they've won enough. Eventually, they make a mistake that wipes them out. For example, if you make $10 million but gamble at trying to make $100 million, you could lose everything. The lesson: enough is enough. Protect what you have. Rule 2 is plan for the worst-case scenario. Most people go broke because they never prepare for bad times. The economy goes through ups and downs. Stock markets crash. Businesses fail. Unexpected expenses happen. The smartest people don't assume everything will go well, they prepare for the worst. For example, Warren Buffett keeps a massive amount of cash on hand. He never takes extreme risks with all his money. That's why he stayed rich for decades. The lesson is always have a safety net. Rule 3 is be boring with your money. People think getting rich is about taking big risks. But staying rich is about being boring, steady, and consistent. The richest people don't buy crazy stocks or gamble their money. They invest in simple, proven things, and they let time do the work. For example, John D. Rockefeller was the richest man in history. He didn't gamble his money. He focused on long-term wealth protection. His family remains wealthy today, over 100 years later. The lesson: slow and steady wins the race. How to apply this to your life? Now that you understand the difference between getting rich and staying rich, here's how to apply it. Step 1 is get rich, that is build wealth. Take calculated risks. Invest in your skills, career, and smart opportunities. Be optimistic about growth. Step 2 is stay rich, that is protect your wealth. Be humble. Don't assume money will always come easily. Keep a safety net. Save for emergencies. Avoid huge risks that could wipe you out. Be boring. Let your money grow steadily over time. This chapter's final thought is, the goal is to stay in the game. You don't need to take crazy risks to stay wealthy. You just need to make sure you never lose everything. The longer you stay in the game, the bigger your wealth will grow. So here's the question for you. What's one thing you can do today to protect your future wealth? Next, chapter 6 is Tails, You. Why do a few small events create almost all success in life and money? How do some people become ultra-wealthy while others don't? Why does failure happen 99% of the time, but the 1% that works changes everything? The answer is tail events. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why Apple, Amazon, and Google owe their success to one lucky event. How a handful of investments generate most of the world's wealth. Why you don't need to win all the time, you just need one big win. Let's get into it. What are tail events? A tail event is an extremely rare, high-impact event that changes everything. 99% of things don't work. But the 1% that does work creates massive success. In investing, business, and life, almost all success comes from a few big moments. Why tails matter in money and wealth? Most investments fail or give small returns. But a tiny percentage of investments become game changers. The stock market works like this. 99% of companies don't grow massively. But 1% of companies, like Apple, Google, Amazon, create most of the wealth. For example, Warren Buffett made $90 billion in wealth, but guess what? 99% of his wealth came from just 10 investments. The lesson: you don't need to win all the time. You just need to be in the game long enough to catch the big win. Let's look at some real-life stories where a single event changed everything. First is Jeff Bezos and Amazon. In 1994, Jeff Bezos saw a tiny. That is, the internet was growing at 2,300% per year. He took a chance and built Amazon. The tail event was the internet boom plus e-commerce explosion made Amazon a trillion-dollar company. Without this one trend, Amazon might never have existed. Second is J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. Rowling was a struggling single mother, living on welfare. She got rejected by 12 publishers. Finally, one publisher called Bloomsbury gave her a chance. The tail event was Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, selling 500 million plus copies. One small decision changed her life forever. 3 is Apple and Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple in 1985. But he came back in 1997 and introduced the iPhone. The tail event was the iPhone became the most profitable product in history. Now Apple worth is $3 trillion, all because of one product. What this means for you? Most things in life won't work. But you only need 1 or 2 big wins to change everything. The secret is staying in the game long enough to catch a tail event. How to use tail events in life and money. Take lots of small risks, try many things because you don't know what will succeed. Be patient, success doesn't happen overnight. Big wins take time. Let your winners run. When you find a good investment, business, or idea, double down on it. Don't quit early. Most people fail because they stop before their big break. Remember, you don't need to be right all the time. You just need one big. Let's see Chapter 7 is freedom. Why do we chase money? What does real wealth look like? How can you use money to buy the most valuable thing in life? The answer is freedom. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why freedom, not fancy cars or big houses, is the real sign of wealth. How having control over your time is the best financial goal. Why money should work for you, not the other way around. Let's dive in. What is real freedom? Freedom is having control over your time. It means you don't have to do something just to survive. It means you get to choose what you do, when you do it, and with whom you do it. True wealth is not about a big paycheck, it's about time. Ask yourself. Can you wake up tomorrow and decide not to work? Can you spend time with your family without worrying about bills? Can you say no to things that don't excite you? If the answer is no, then money still controls you. The illusion of success is. Most people think being rich means a big house, a luxury car, a high salary. But here's the truth. Many rich people have no freedom at all. For example, imagine a corporate executive making $500,000 a year. But he works 80 hours a week, never sees his kids, and hates his job. He can't leave because his expensive lifestyle traps him. The lesson is, if you can't afford to stop working, you're not really rich. The real goal is time and freedom, not just money. Fuck you money means having enough saved. It gives you the power to say no to bad jobs, toxic bosses, or stressful clients. Spend time with family and pursue passions. Make decisions based on happiness, not just survival. For example, a teacher making $50,000 per year saves and invests for 20 years. He builds $1 million in investments and retires early at 45. He now teaches part-time because he wants to, not because he has to. Who's richer? The high-paid prisoner or the free teacher? True wealth is being able to decide what you do with your life. The key to freedom is low expenses plus smart investing. Most people think they need millions to be free. But that's not true. The secret is: keep your expenses low. Invest consistently for the long term. For example, Grace Groner was a secret millionaire. She worked as a secretary, lived in a small house, and drove an old car. But she invested her money wisely in stocks for 50 years. When she died, she left $7 million to charity. No one knew she was wealthy. The lesson is, freedom comes from saving, investing, and avoiding lifestyle inflation. Want to buy back your time? Follow these steps. First, save and invest aggressively. The more you save, the faster you become free. Invest in assets that grow over time: stocks, index funds, real estate. For example, if you save 50% of your income and invest wisely, you can retire in 15 years. Second, avoid lifestyle inflation. Most people earn more and then spend more. This keeps them tea. Instead, keep your expenses the same while your income grows. For example, if you make $100,000 but spend only $40,000, you're richer than someone who makes $300,000 and spends $295,000. Third is, buy your time back. The best thing money buys isn't a car or house, it's freedom. The sooner you can stop working for survival, the sooner you can live life on your terms. For example, a person who makes $50,000 and works 10 hours per week is wealthier than someone who makes $500,000 but works 100 hours per week. Money equals to time. Use it wisely. Final thought of this chapter is, the true wealth is freedom. In the end, money is just a tool. The real goal is freedom over your time. Ask yourself today: are you working because you want to or because you have to? Is your money buying freedom, or is it keeping you trapped? What steps can you take today to gain more control over your life? Take action now. Save, invest, and buy back your time. Let's see Chapter 8. The Man in the Car Paradox. Why do people buy luxury cars, watches, and designer clothes? Do these things make others admire us, or do they actually make us look foolish? Why are we terrible at understanding what actually impresses people? The answer is found in the Man in the Car Paradox. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why luxury purchases often fail to impress others, how people don't admire you, they admire the car, house, or watch itself, the secret to building real respect and influence without wasting money. Let's dive in. What is the Man in the Car Paradox? Imagine this. You see a guy driving a brand new Lamborghini down the street. What do you think? Most people assume, wow, that guy must be rich. He must be successful. I want to be like him. But here's the paradox. No one is admiring the driver. They're admiring the car. The lesson is, people don't think, I admire that guy. Instead, they think, I want a Lamborghini. The owner spent money to impress people, but instead, the car just makes others want the car, not admire him. That is the illusion of status symbols. Society teaches us that money equals to status. But real status isn't about what you own, it's about who you are. For example, a man buys a $20,000 Rolex to impress people. But when others see it, they don't admire him. They admire the Rolex. The lesson is, people don't respect you more just because you own expensive TH. They just want those things for themselves. Real respect doesn't come from what you wear, drive, or own. It comes from your character. Let's see real-life examples of the paradox. Many celebrities buy luxury cars to flex their wealth. But when fans see them, they don't say, "I admire that celebrity." Instead, they say, "I wish I had that car." The lesson is buying expensive things doesn't make people admire you, it makes them want the thing you bought. The Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in the world, drives a basic car and lives in the same house he bought in 1958. Mark Zuckerberg wears a plain t-shirt and jeans every day. The lesson is, people respect them for their success, intelligence, and decisions, not their clothes or cars. True power comes from what you do, not what you buy. The 3 money lessons from the man in the car paradox are: first, stop trying to impress people with money. Buying expensive things to impress others almost never works. People admire wealth, but they admire it for themselves, not for you. For better approach, instead of buying expensive things, invest in becoming someone people respect. Second, real respect comes from influence, not stuff. People admire your skills, your kindness, your wisdom, not your possessions. For example, if you want people to look up to you, become a great leader, a great storyteller, a great thinker. Then the respect lasts. Cars don't. Third, buy freedom, not status. The best use of money isn't showing off. It's buying control over your life. Instead of spending on luxury, invest in financial freedom. For example, instead of spending $100,000 on a sports car, invest it and retire 5 years earlier. Wealth is what you don't see, the freedom to live life on your terms. The final thought of this chapter is real wealth is invisible. The biggest financial mistake people make is trying to look rich instead of being rich. Ask yourself today, are you buying things to impress others or to improve your life? Are you spending money on things that actually bring happiness? What can you do today to focus on real success instead of fake status? Take action now. Build wealth. Build respect. Build freedom. Let's see Chapter 9, Wealth is What You Don't See. Why do some people look rich but are actually broke? Why do truly wealthy people often seem ordinary? What's the difference between being rich and being wealthy? The answer lies in one simple truth. Wealth is what you don't see. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why real wealth is invisible, how flashy spending hides financial insecurity, the key mindset shift to actually becoming wealthy. Let's dive in. What does "wealth is what you don't see" mean? Imagine this. You see a guy driving a brand new Ferrari. You assume he must be rich. But here's what you don't see. His $1,500 per month car payment. His maxed out credit cards. His zero savings account. Just because someone looks rich doesn't mean they actually are. The lesson is, being rich is about how much you spend. Being wealthy is about how much you keep. Real wealth is invisible, it's the money you don't spend. That is the illusion of being rich. Society teaches us that expensive things equals to success. But most rich-looking people are actually just deep in debt. For example, we take the $10 million athlete who went broke. Many professional athletes make millions but end up bankrupt within a few years. Why? Because they spend everything to maintain a rich lifestyle. The lesson is: looking rich and being rich are not the same thing. The real wealth isn't the car, the watch, or the mansion, it's the savings, the investments, and the financial freedom you can't see. Let's see the real-life examples of invisible wealth. First, Ronald Read was a janitor who lived a simple life. He drove a used car and never showed off wealth. But when he passed away, he left behind $8 million in investments. The lesson is: he was wealthy because he saved and invested, not because he spent. Second is for the flashy millionaire who went broke. That is Mike Tyson earned $400 million in his boxing career. He bought luxury cars, tigers, and mansions. By 2003, he was bankrupt. The lesson is he looked rich, but he never built real wealth. Let's see the 3 key money lessons from Wealth is What You Don't See. First, stop measuring success by what you see. Just because someone has a big house doesn't mean they're financially secure. True wealth is about what you don't see: savings, investments, and financial freedom. For example, if you see someone driving a used car but retiring at 40, they're wealthier than someone driving a sports car but working 80 hours a week. Second, focus on saving, not spending. The secret to real wealth isn't earning more, it's keeping more. The more you save and invest, the wealthier you become. For example, if you save 50% of your income, you can retire decades earlier than someone who spends everything. Third, invest in financial security, not status. The real flex isn't a Rolex, it's never worrying about money again. Instead of buying things to impress others, invest in financial freedom. For example, instead of spending $100,000 on a luxury car, invest it in assets that grow and give you freedom. True wealth isn't what you see, it's what protects you in the future. The final thought of this chapter is: be wealthy, not just rich. Looking rich is easy. Being wealthy takes discipline. Ask yourself today: am I spending money to impress others or to improve my life? Is my money working for me, or am I working for money? What can I do today to build real financial freedom? Take action now. Save, invest, and build real wealth. Next, Chapter 10, Save Money. Why saving money matters more than high income. How saving gives you freedom, control, and security. Why most people fail at saving. And how you can do it right. The key takeaway is: you don't need a high income to be wealthy, you need to save. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn the real reason saving money is so powerful. How saving creates financial independence. The mindset shift that makes saving effortless. Let's dive in. Why saving money is more powerful than high income. Imagine this. You earn $500,000 per year, but you spend all of it. At the end of the year, you have $0 saved. Now imagine. You earn $50,000 per year, but you save 20% of it. Over time, you build real wealth. Who is actually better off? The second person. Because wealth is what you keep, not what you earn. The lesson is: a high income means nothing if you don't save. Let's see the power of saving money. Most people think saving is just about emergencies. But saving is about freedom. For example, imagine your boss treats you terribly. If you have no savings, you're stuck. But if you have a year's worth of savings, you can walk away. The lesson is saving money isn't just about buying things later, it's about buying choices. Saving equals to freedom. Let's see real-life examples of why saving matters. 1. The doctor who went broke. A surgeon earning $500,000 per year spent everything on luxury cars, vacations, and a big. When a medical crisis stopped him from working, he had no savings, and lost everything. So the lesson is it doesn't matter how much you earn if you don't save. 2. The teacher who retired a millionaire. A schoolteacher earning $40,000 per year saved 20% of her salary. She lived modestly, invested consistently, and retired with millions in savings. So the lesson is saving consistently is more important than earning a high salary. Let's see the 3 mindset shifts for saving money. 1. Saving is an investment in your future. Most people think saving is about sacrificing today. But saving actually means giving your future self more freedom. For example, every $1 you save today is worth $5 to $10 in the future because of investing and compound interest. Think of saving as buying future opportunities. 2. Your savings rate is more important than your income. No matter how much you earn, if you spend it all, you're still broke. The key to wealth is not how much you make, but how much you keep. For example, if you earn $50,000 but save 20%, you're in better shape than someone who earns $200,000 and spends it all. Saving is the real flex. 3. Save first, spend what's left. Most people spend first and save what's left, but this rarely works. The best strategy is saving first and spending what remains. For example, set up automatic savings so you never even see the money. Make saving effortless. How much should you save? The rule of thumb is save at least 20% of your income. But even saving 10% consistently is better than nothing. The simple formula is 50% for needs, that is rent, food, bills. 30% for wants, that is fun, hobbies, travel. 20% for saving and investing. The key is make saving a habit. So the final thought of this chapter is, saving is the foundation of wealth. Saving money is the single biggest factor in building wealth. Ask yourself today, am I saving money, or just spending everything I earn? If I lost my income tomorrow, how long could I survive? What small change can I make to save more starting today? Take action now. Save, invest, and build real freedom. Next, chapter 11, reasonable, rational. Being reasonable with money is often better than being purely rational. Most personal finance advice tells you to be completely logical and rational, but real life doesn't work that way. In this chapter, we'll break down why humans don't make perfectly rational financial decisions, the power of being reasonable over rational, how emotions, habits, and life experiences shape your money decisions. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why the smartest choice isn't always the best choice, how to make money decisions that work for your real life, the balance between logic and emotions in wealth building. Let's dive in. What does reasonable rational mean? Imagine this. You want to invest money. A financial expert tells you to put 100% into stocks because, historically, it gives the highest return. Logically, that's rational. But emotionally, it might stress you out, especially if you don't like risk. Would you stick to the plan? Probably not. Because humans don't think purely logically. The lesson is, the best financial decision isn't always the most rational one. It's the one you can stick with for the long term. Why people aren't rational with money? If people were rational, they would always invest in the highest return option. Never panic during a market crash. Avoid debt 100% of the time. But in reality, people pull money out of investments when the market crashes. Spend emotionally when they're stressed or celebrating. Take risks based on personal experiences, not logic. We make financial choices based on emotions, experiences, and personal beliefs, not pure math. Let's see real-life examples of reasonable versus rational. 1. The investor who avoided stocks. A man in his 70s refuses to invest in stocks. Why? He grew up during the Great Depression and saw families lose everything. Mathematically, it's irrational, but emotionally, it makes sense for him. So lesson is our financial decisions are shaped by our personal history. 2. The homeowner who paid off his mortgage early. A woman has a low-interest mortgage 3% but decides to pay it off early instead of investing in the stock market, which could earn 7 to 10%. Rationally, she should invest. But emotionally, being debt-free makes her feel secure and stress-free. So lesson is the best financial decision is the one that lets you sleep at night. Let's see 3 key lessons from Reasonable Rational. 1. The best financial plan is one you can stick with. The most mathematically correct decision doesn't matter if you can't follow through. It's better to make a good, reasonable decision you can commit to than a perfect one you'll abandon. For example, you might know that investing 100% in stocks is better long-term, but if that makes you panic and sell during a crash, you'll lose money. Instead, find a plan that feels safe enough for you to hold on to. 2. Personal finance is more personal than finance. Everyone has different experiences, fears, and beliefs about money. The right choice for one person might not be right for another. For example, some people love taking risks in crypto. Others feel safer saving cash. Both approaches work if they align with your personality and goals. Instead of following someone else's perfect plan, focus on what makes sense for you. 3. Avoid extremes. Find balance between logic and emotion. If you're too emotional, you'll make impulsive money mistakes. If you're too rational, you might ignore real-life concerns like stress and security. For example, investing is logical, but having an emergency fund is emotional, because it makes you feel safe. The best financial strategy balances both. A financial plan that works long-term is one that's logical enough to grow your money and reasonable enough to keep you committed. Final thought of this chapter is reasonable beats rational. Money is not about math, it's about behavior. Ask yourself today, am I making money decisions that work for my personality and goals? Am I balancing logic with what makes me feel secure? What financial habits can I improve to build long-term wealth? Take action now. Make smart, sustainable financial choices that work for you. Let's see Chapter 12, Surprise. The biggest financial events in history were surprises. No one can predict the future. Markets change. Economies crash. Fortunes are built and lost in unexpected ways. Key takeaways from this chapter is why most financial predictions are wrong. How the biggest financial events were surprises. Why understanding uncertainty is key to building wealth. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn how to prepare for financial surprises without predicting them. The dangers of believing in forever trends. Why humility and flexibility are the most important financial skills. Let's dive in. Why we never see surprises coming. Imagine this. It's early 2000. The internet is booming, and investors believe tech stocks will go up forever. Then, the dot-com bubble bursts, and people lose millions overnight. Now imagine. It's 2007. The housing market is strong, and banks are giving out loans to almost anyone. Then, the 2008 financial crisis wipes out trillions of dollars in wealth. Could anyone have predicted these crashes? A few experts warned about them, but most people were caught off guard. So the lesson is the biggest financial events are almost always surprises. The past doesn't predict the future. People love to look at past trends and assume they'll continue. But history shows that every major financial shift was unexpected. For example, the COVID-19 market crash in 2020. The stock market was at record highs. Within weeks, the market collapsed. A few months later, the market hit record highs again. The lesson is: you can't predict the future, you can only prepare for the unexpected. The myth of perfect predictions is: many financial experts claim to predict the market. But in reality, no one knows what will happen next. For example, we take the fall of long-term capital management. In the 1990s, LTCM was run by some of the smartest financial minds in history. Their model was based on complex math and perfect predictions. In 1998, an unexpected Russian financial crisis destroyed their entire fund. So, even the smartest people in the world can't predict financial surprises. Let's see 3 key lessons from surprise. First, expect the unexpected. Surprises aren't rare, they're the norm. Instead of trying to predict the future, build a plan that can handle uncertainty. For example, if you assume the market will always go up, you're in trouble when it crashes. If you plan for both ups and downs, you'll always be prepared. How to apply this into our life? Keep an emergency fund. Diversify your investments. Don't assume any trend will last forever. Second, beware of forever trends. People always think this time is different. But every financial boom eventually slows down. For example, many people thought Bitcoin would only go up. But in 2021, it crashed from $60,000 to $30,000 in months. How to apply it? Never invest based on hype. Underst. Always have a plan for what happens if you're wrong. Third, humility is the best investment strategy. No one has a crystal ball. The best investors admit they don't know what's coming. For example, we take Warren Buffett's investment strategy. Buffett doesn't try to time the market. Instead, he buys strong businesses and holds them for decades. He accepts that some years will be bad, but long-term growth wins. How to apply it? Invest for the long term. Accept that surprises will happen. Focus on staying in the game, not timing the game. So the final thought of this chapter is, how to prepare for financial surprises. The future will always be uncertain. Ask yourself today: do I have a plan if the market crashes? Am I overconfident in a sure thing? Am I building financial flexibility for the unknown? Take action now. Stay humble, stay prepared, and stay flexible. Next, chapter 13, Room for Error. Building room for error into your financial life is the key to long-term success. Most people believe that financial success comes from perfect decision-making. But in reality, it comes from allowing yourself margin for mistakes, bad luck, and unexpected surprises. The key takeaways from this chapter is: why having a financial cushion is more important than making perfect investments. How history shows that even the smartest investors make mistakes. The best way to prepare for uncertainty and build wealth without stress. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn how to create a buffer in your financial life. Why over-optimism can be dangerous. How billionaires, businesses, and regular people all benefit from room for error. Let's dive in. What does room for error mean? Imagine this. You're driving on a highway with zero extra space on either side. If you make one small mistake, you crash. Now imagine you're driving on a wide open road with extra lanes. Even if you make a mistake, you have room to adjust. Which situation is safer? Of course, the second one. The same is true in finance. If you have zero room for error, one bad event can destroy you. If you have extra savings, smart investments, and financial flexibility, you can recover from setbacks. So, never build a financial plan that assumes everything will go perfectly. Why overconfidence is dangerous. Many people make financial plans B. They assume they'll never lose their job. The stock market will always go up. Their business will always be profitable. For example, before the 2008 crash, many people bought houses they couldn't afford. They assumed home prices would always rise. When prices collapsed, they lost everything, because they had no room for error. So the lesson is, always plan for what happens if you're wrong. Let's see real-life examples of room for error. 1. Warren Buffett's investment strategy. Buffett never invests all his money in one thing. He always keeps cash on hand for unexpected downturns. Even though he's one of the greatest investors ever, he plans for mistakes. So, even the smartest people leave room for error. 2. The business that overexpanded too fast. A restaurant chain opened too many locations too quickly. They assumed every store would be successful. When a recession hit, they had no safety net, and went bankrupt. So, growth is good, but too much risk with no backup plan is dangerous. 3. The emergency fund that saved a family. A family had 6 months of savings set aside. When one spouse lost their job, they didn't panic. Their emergency fund gave them time to find a new job without stress. So, room for error isn't just for businesses, it's for everyday life. Let's see 3 key lessons from room for error. 1. First, build an emergency fund. The easiest way to create room for error is to have extra cash saved up. Experts recommend HAVI. For example, if you lose your job, an emergency fund lets you stay calm and make smart choices instead of making desperate decisions. How to apply it? Start saving small amounts every month. Aim for at least 3 months of expenses saved. Keep this money separate from your investments. Second, be conservative with your investments. Don't assume the stock market will always go up. Plan for bad years, crashes, and unexpected risks. For example, if you invest 100% of your money in risky stocks and the market crashes, you might lose everything. If you keep a mix of stocks, bonds, and cash, you have more room for error. How to apply it? Don't invest money you can't afford to lose. Keep a diverse portfolio that can survive bad times. Third, avoid living on the edge financially. Many people live paycheck to paycheck, even when they don't have to. The key to financial security is spending less than you earn. For example, a person making $100,000 a year who spends $100,000 is just as broke as someone making $30,000 and spending $30,000. How to apply it? Avoid lifestyle inflation, don't increase spending every time you get a raise. Keep your expenses lower than your income. Create a buffer so unexpected costs don't ruin you. The final thought of this chapter is the secret to financial stability. You don't need to be the smartest person in the world to succeed financially. You just need to create enough room for mistakes and surprises. Ask yourself today, do I have enough savings to handle a surprise? Am I taking on too much risk without a safety net? How can I build more room for error in my finances? Take action now. Build security, not stress. Next, Chapter 14, You'll change. Who you are today is not who you'll be in the future. Most people assume that their goals, desires, and priorities will stay the same forever. But the reality? You will change. And if you don't prepare for that change, you may make financial decisions today that you'll regret tomorrow. The key takeaways from this chapter. Why humans are bad at predicting their future selves. How people's goals and priorities shift over time. Why financial planning must allow for flexibility. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn how to make financial decisions that work for your future self, not just your present self. Why so many people chase temporary happiness but later regret it. The best strategies to build a financial life that supports your changing desires. Let's dive in. Why we think we won't change, but we always do. Imagine this. Think about the person you were 10 years ago. Did you have the same goals, interests, and values? Probably not. Now ask yourself. Do you think you'll change in the next 10 years? Most people say, not much. But research shows that people change way more than they expect. This is called the end of history illusion. We underestimate how much we will evolve. So, the lesson is, your future self will likely want different things. So if you lock yourself into financial commitments based only on today's desires, you might regret them later. Let's see real-life examples of people who changed over time. 1. The corporate executive who regretted his career path. A man spent 20 years chasing promotions and higher salaries. He assumed he'd always value money and career success. By his 50s, he realized he wanted more time with family, but his lifestyle was built around high expenses and long work hours. So, what matters to you now may not be what matters later. Plan for flexibility. 2. The young couple who bought their dream home too early. A couple in their 20s bought a huge house in a city they loved. At the time, they thought they'd live there forever. By their 30s, they had kids and wanted to move closer to family, but were trapped by their mortgage. So, your ideal lifestyle will evolve. Avoid decisions that lock you into a single path. 3. The investor who thought they'd never sell. A young investor put all their money in high-risk stocks because they were confident in their risk tolerance. But when a recession hit, they panicked and sold at a loss. They realized they weren't as risk-tolerant as they thought. So, your financial personality can change. Don't assume today's decisions will always feel right. Let's see 3 key lessons from You'll Change. First, make financial plans that allow for flexibility. Many people plan their finances as if their goals are permanent. But a rigid plan doesn't work if your priorities shift. For example, instead of locking all your money in real estate, keep some in liquid assets in case you need to move. Instead of taking on massive debt for a career path, leave room for a potential career change. How to apply it? Choose investments and saving strategies that give you options. Avoid financial commitments that trap you in one lifestyle. Second, think about what your future self might want. If you're 25, try imagining your 40-year-old self. What might matter to them? What financial decisions might they appreciate? For example, many people spend all their money in their 20s because they want to enjoy life. But by their 30s, they wish they had started saving earlier. How to apply it? Don't only make financial decisions based on what you want right now. Assume you'll want more security, flexibility, and freedom later. Third, recognize that your definition of enough will change. Many people believe, if I just earn X amount, I'll be happy forever. But when they reach that goal, they want more. For example, someone making $50,000 thinks they'd be happy with $100,000. When they get $100,000, they want $200,000. When they reach $200,000, they want $500,000. So the lesson is, if you don't define enough, you'll always chase more, without ever feeling satisfied. How to apply it? Regularly reevaluate your financial goals. Focus on what brings you happiness and fulfillment, not just numbers. So, the final thought of this chapter is, the only constant is change. You will not be the same person in 10 years. Your values, priorities, and dreams will evolve. The best financial strategy? Build flexibility into your plan. Ask yourself today. Am I making financial decisions that will still make sense in 10 years? Do I have flexibility if my priorities change? How can I create a financial life that supports both today's dreams and tomorrow's surprises? Take action now. Plan for change, not just stability. Next, Chapter 15, Nothing's Free. Everything has a price. Even if it doesn't look like it. Many people think that wealth, success, and financial freedom come without trade-offs. But that's never true. Everything in life, whether it's money, time, or peace of mind, has a hidden cost. The key takeaways from this chapter. Why every financial decision comes with a price, even if you don't see it. How to recognize the hidden costs of wealth and success. How to pay the price willingly and wisely. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why successful people seem to have free success, but actually don't. How to identify the invisible price tags of financial decisions. How to decide what's worth paying for, and what's not. Let's dive in. The illusion of free success. Imagine this. You see a millionaire driving a Lamborghini. You think, wow, they must have it all. That's the dream. But what you don't see is the price they paid to get there. Maybe they worked 100-hour weeks for a decade. Maybe they sacrificed time with family and friends. Maybe they endured extreme stress, failures, and sleepless nights. So the lesson is, success isn't free. There's always a hidden price. Let's see real-life examples of nothing's free. 1. The entrepreneur who lost work-life balance. Sarah started a tech company. She became a millionaire by 35. But she worked 14-hour days, 7 days a week for 10 years. She missed holidays, birthdays, and relationships. So lesson is, financial success cost her time and relationships. The question is, was it worth it? 2. The investor who paid the price of volatility. John invested in stocks and made a fortune. But he had to endure years of market crashes, fear, and doubt. His portfolio dropped by 40% during recessions, but he held on. So lesson is, the price of big investment gains is emotional pain. Many people aren't willing to pay that price. 3. The athlete who sacrificed a normal life. A pro athlete earns millions and lives a dream life. But they spent their childhood training every day, missing out on normal teenage experiences. Injuries, pressure, and public scrutiny became part of their life. So, lesson is, the cost of greatness is extreme discipline and sacrifice. Many people want the rewards, but not the price. Let's see 3 key lessons from Nothing's Free. First, everything has a price, you just have to find it. Some prices are obvious, like paying money for a car. Some prices are hidden, like stress, time, or emotional struggle. For example, want to be rich? The price might be years of hard work, risk, and uncertainty. Want a stress-free job? The price might be lower pay and fewer opportunities. How to apply it? Before making a decision, ask, what's the hidden price? Don't just chase rewards, understand the costs. Second, the best things in life are not free, but they are worth paying for. Some people avoid paying the price because it's. But the best rewards come from willingly paying the right price. For example, a happy marriage isn't free, it requires time, effort, and patience. Financial independence isn't free, it requires discipline, saving, and sacrifice. How to apply it? Choose your trade-offs wisely. Pay for things that bring long-term happiness, not just short-term pleasure. Third, some prices are too high, know when to walk away. Just because something is valuable doesn't mean it's worth the price. Many people ruin their lives chasing things they don't actually want. For example, some people sacrifice family, health, and happiness for money, only to regret it later. Some people risk everything in high-stakes investments, and lose everything. So, how to apply it? Define your limits. Know what price you're not willing to pay. Ask yourself, will this matter in 10 years? Final thought of this chapter is, pay the right price for the right things. Nothing is truly free. The best things in life require a price. The secret to happiness? Choosing what's worth paying for. Ask yourself today. What prices am I already paying? Stress, time, money, relationships? Am I paying the right price for the right rewards? What hidden costs am I ignoring? Take action now. Make conscious choices about what's truly worth paying for. Next, Chapter 16, You and Me. We all see money differently. What makes sense for you might not make sense for me. Everyone has unique experiences, goals, fears, and beliefs about money. That's why two people can look at the same financial decision and make completely different choices. The key takeaways from this chapter is why personal finance is deeply personal. How your life experiences shape your financial decisions. Why there's no one-size-fits-all approach to money. By the end of this chapter, you'll learn why smart people can disagree on financial decisions. How your upbringing and environment influence your money mindset. How to make financial choices that align with your reality, not someone else's. Let's dive in. Why people see money differently. Have you ever wondered why two people can have completely different views on money? For one example, the stock market investor versus the cash saver. John believes in investing aggressively. He's seen the market go up long term. Mark keeps all his money in cash. His family lost everything in a recession. They argue about what's right. So, the lesson is, John and Mark aren't actually wrong, they're just shaped by different experiences. We don't make financial decisions based on facts alone, we make them based on our past, our fears, and our beliefs. Let's take second example, the employee versus the entrepreneur. Sarah values stability and a steady paycheck. Her parents struggled with job loss. Ryan is an entrepreneur who takes risks. He grew up seeing his father build a business. Who's right? Both. The lesson is, people make financial decisions based on their life experiences. Someone who grew up in a financial crisis sees risk differently than someone who grew up in economic growth. How personal history shapes financial choices. The money mindset you were raised with matters. Some people grow up seeing money as scarce, so they save every dollar. Others grow up in wealthy families, so they take more financial risks. Your past affects how you view investing, saving, spending, and taking risks. For example, someone raised in a poor family might feel fearful about spending. Someone raised in a wealthy family might feel comfortable with debt and investing. Neither is wrong, it's just their reality. The biggest mistake people make with money is trying to copy someone else's financial strategy without understanding their life situation. For example, you watch a billionaire investor talk about buying high-risk stocks. You think, if he's doing it, I should too. But what you don't realize is, he has millions in reserves, he can afford to take risks. You don't have the same financial safety net. So, lesson is, financial advice is not one size fits all. What works for someone else might not work for you. Let's see 3 key lessons from You and Me. First, personal finance is personal. There's no right way to handle money, only what's rig. Your financial choices should match your goals, values, and risk tolerance. For example, if you value security, a steady job might be better than starting a business. If you love taking risks, investing in startups might be a great strategy for you. How to apply it? Ignore one-size-fits-all financial advice. Make decisions based on your reality, not someone else's. Second, don't judge others for their money choices. People make different financial decisions because of different life experiences. What looks dumb to you might make perfect sense for someone else. For example, some people prefer buying a home for stability. Others prefer renting for flexibility. Neither is wrong, it depends on your life goals. How to apply it? Stop criticizing people for financial decisions you don't understand. Focus on what works for you. Third, don't let someone else's money choices make you feel inferior. Social media makes people feel behind in life. You see someone buying a luxury car and feel pressure to keep up. For example, just because your friend bought a house doesn't mean you need to. Just because someone is investing in crypto doesn't mean it's right for you. How to apply it? Stop comparing your financial journey to others. Focus on your long-term goals, not short-term trends. So, the final thought of this chapter is, focus on your own path. Your financial journey is unique. The biggest mistake? Trying to copy someone else's financial decisions. The best strategy? Make choices that align with your values, goals, and lifestyle. Ask yourself today, what financial beliefs did I inherit from my past? Am I making money decisions based on my needs, or copying someone else? How can I build a strategy that works for me? Take action now. Own your financial choices and stop comparing yourself to others. Next, Chapter 17, The Seduction of Pessimism. Why do people believe bad news more than good news? Why does pessimism sound smarter than optimism? How does this affect your financial decisions? Have you ever noticed that negative news spreads faster than positive news? In finance, pessimism is seductive. The market is about to crash sounds more convincing than the market will grow over time. Bad news grabs attention. Good news sounds boring. But here's the truth, long-term progress in finance, business, and life is fueled by optimism. So why do we fall for negativity? Let's break it down. Why pessimism sounds smarter than optimism? Bad news feels urgent. If someone says, a financial crisis is coming, you feel the need to act now. If someone says, the economy will grow over the next 20 years, it feels slow and uncertain. Let's see example 1, the stock market crash versus long-term growth. Imagine two headlines. 1. The market is about to collapse. Sell everything now. 2. The market will steadily grow over the next 30 years. Which one gets more clicks? The first one. Crisis news creates fear. Fear makes people react. But history shows that the stock market always recovers and grows over time. So, lesson is: pessimism feels urgent, but optimism is usually right in the long run. How the brain is wired for negativity. Our brains are programmed to focus on threats. This is called negativity bias. Let's see another example, the cave. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on spotting danger. If you ignored a lion in the bushes, you'd die. If you ignored good news, nothing bad happened. This is why negative headlines grab your attention faster than positive ones. So, lesson is: fear-based financial news hijacks your brain. People overreact to short-term crises and ignore long-term progress. Why people always expect a crash? Every generation thinks they're living in the worst economic times. The economy is collapsing. We're heading for another Great Depression. The housing market is doomed. But what actually happens? The economy faces ups and downs, but over time, it grows. People who stayed optimistic and invested long-term became wealthy. Let's take another example, Warren Buffett's optimism. Buffett has seen recessions, stock crashes, inflation, and crises. But he kept investing, and became one of the richest people on earth. His secret? Long-term optimism. So, the lesson is: short-term pessimism is loud. But long-term optimism is profitable. Why do we trust pessimists more than optimists? Pessimism sounds like intelligence. When someone warns you about a financial crisis, they seem smart and cautious. When someone says, things will be fine, they sound naive. Let's take another example, the financial expert who predicted crashes. Some economists became famous for predicting market crashes. But what happens? They are right once and wrong 99% of the time. If you listen to them, you'll miss out on wealth-building opportunities. So the lesson is: pessimists may sound smarter, but optimists win in the long run. Let's see 3 key lessons from The Seduction of Pessimism. First, fear makes people act without thinking. Bad news spreads fast because it triggers fear. People make bad financial decisions when they panic. How to apply it? Don't make financial decisions based on headlines. Think long-term and avoid reacting emotionally. Second, pessimism sounds smart, but it's often wrong. People who constantly predict financial doom rarely succeed. The economy, markets, and businesses recover and grow. How to apply it? Ignore short-term fear and focus on long-term trends. Stay invested, keep learning, and don't panic. Third, optimism pays off in the long run. Despite wars, recessions, and crises, the world keeps improving. Over time, businesses grow, technology advances, and wealth increases. How to apply it? Train yourself to see long-term progress. Stay patient, stay invested, and trust the process. So the final thought of this chapter: don't let fear control your financial future. Pessimism might sound smart, but optimism builds wealth. Don't let short-term fear stop you from long-term success. Ask yourself today: am I making financial decisions based on fear or logic? How can I stay calm during economic uncertainty? Am I thinking long-term or reacting to short-term panic? Take action now. Stay optimistic. Stay focused. And build the future you want. Next, Chapter 18, When You'll Believe Anything. Why do people believe financial myths? How do emotions trick us into making bad money decisions? How can you protect yourself from misinformation? Have you ever heard someone say, investing in stocks is gambling, or real estate always goes up? These beliefs spread fast, but are they true? In finance, what people believe is often more powerful than reality. So why do we believe things that aren't always true? Let's break it down. Why people believe anything in finance? Money is emotional, not logical. When people feel scared, they believe anything that explains their fear. When people feel greedy, they believe anything that promises quick wealth. Morgan Housel explains that financial beliefs are shaped by 1. Personal experiences, what happened in your life. 2. Stories you hear, what others tell you. 3. The media, fear-driven news and social media hype. So the lesson is: people don't analyze facts, they believe what feels true based on emotions. Let's see one example, the Great Depression versus the tech boom. If you grew up during the Great Depression, you saw job losses, hunger, and a collapsed stock market. Then your financial belief is, stocks are dangerous. Never trust them. If you grew up in the 1990s tech boom, you saw people getting rich fast with stocks. Then your financial belief is, stocks are the best. Same reality, different beliefs. So, your money mindset is shaped by what you experience, not what is objectively true. Let's see example 2, the 2008 housing crash versus today's real estate boom. If you saw the 2008 financial crisis, you might believe real estate is risky. You can lose everything. If you only saw the 2020s housing boom, you might believe real estate always goes up. It's a safe investment. Truth is, neither belief is 100% right or wrong. So, just because something happened in your lifetime doesn't mean it will always be true. Let's see the power of financial storytelling. Why myths spread faster than facts. People love simple stories, but money is complex. That's why financial myths spread so fast. Let's see popular money myths that sound true but aren't. 1. Rich people just got lucky. But truth is, most wealthy people built their fortune through time, discipline, and smart decisions. 2. Gold is the safest investment. But truth is, gold holds value, but stocks and businesses have outperformed it long term. 3. The stock market is just gambling. But truth is, gambling is random. Investing in good companies over time builds wealth. 4. You have to be an expert to invest. But truth is, the best investors don't predict the market, they stay in it for the long haul. The simpler a financial idea sounds, the more likely it's misleading. Why people fall for get-rich-quick schemes. Humans love shortcuts. When someone says, turn $500 into $50,000 in 30 days, it triggers greed. When someone says, investing takes 20 years, it sounds boring. Let's see example 3, crypto and the hype cycle. Bitcoin skyrocketed, and suddenly, everyone believed crypto is the future. Buy now before it's too late. Then it crashed. People panicked, crypto is a scam. It will never recover. Truth is, crypto, like any investment, has ups and downs. But people believe extreme stories instead of studying the facts. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Let's see how to avoid falling for financial myths. Here's how to protect yourself. First, question your own beliefs. Ask yourself, do I believe this because it's true, or because it feels true? Am I basing this on facts or personal experience? Second, look at history, not just one event. One financial crisis doesn't mean the system is broken forever. One investment success doesn't mean it will always work. How to apply it? Study long-term trends instead of short-term fear. Look at 50 to 100 years of financial history, not just recent events. Third, trust data, not headlines. Fear-based news sells more than logical advice. Stock market crashes get more views than stock market grows 10% per year on average. How to apply it? Follow investors, not influencers who just want clicks. Trust historical data, not viral opinions. So, final thought of this chapter is, be careful what you believe about M. Your financial beliefs control your future. Question everything. Think long-term. Learn from history. Ask yourself today. What financial beliefs do I have that might not be true? Am I making decisions based on emotions or facts? Am I falling for financial myths instead of learning real money principles? Take action now. Educate yourself. Question your beliefs. Build true wealth. Let's see chapter 19, all together now. How all the previous chapters come together into a simple, timeless strategy for wealth. The key habits of financially successful people, based on real-life stories. Why understanding money is simple, but doing it is hard. Here's the truth. Money isn't just about numbers. It's about behavior, emotions, and discipline. Let's break it all down. Let's see the 10 key takeaways from this book. After 18 chapters of wisdom, what really matters? 1. No one's crazy about money from Chapter 1. Everyone makes financial decisions based on their life experiences. That's why one person might fear the stock market, while another sees it as an opportunity. So lesson, don't judge others' financial choices. Instead, focus on what works for you. 2. Luck and risk shape everything from Chapter 2. Bill Gates was lucky to have access to computers early. Many talented people were unlucky and never got the same chance. So lesson. Be humble when you succeed. Be kind when others fail. 3. Never enough is a trap from Chapter 3. People who always want more never feel satisfied, even billionaires. The real goal? Knowing when you have enough. So lesson. Avoid unnecessary risk. Happiness comes from gratitude, not just wealth. 4. Compounding is a superpower from Chapter 4. Warren Buffett's biggest wealth secret isn't stock picking, it's time. His real genius? Letting compounding work for 80+ years. So lesson. Start early. Stay invested. Be patient. 5. Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy from Chapter 5. Getting rich requires risk and bold decisions. Staying rich requires humility, saving, and patience. So lesson. Protect what you've built. Avoid big mistakes. 6. Tails, you win from Chapter 6. Most successful people only got a few things right, but those few things were huge. Amazon failed with the Fire phone, but AWS made billions. So lesson. You don't need to be right all the time, just on the important things. 7. The ultimate goal, freedom from Chapter 7. The best use of money isn't luxury, it's control over your time. Money buys choices, and choices equals to freedom. So lesson. Save and invest to give yourself more control over your life. 8. The man in the car paradox from Chapter 8. People buy fancy cars to impress others, but no one cares about the driver. The real flex? Financial independence. So lesson. Stop buying things just to impress people. 9. Wealth is what you don't see from Chapter 9. Being rich is about what's in your bank account, not what you show off. Many millionaires live in average houses and drive normal cars. So lesson. Live below your means and let wealth grow silently. 10. Save money, always from Chapter 10. Saving isn't about how much you earn, it's about spending less than you make. Even rich people go broke if they spend too much. So lesson. Save consistently, no matter what. The biggest money lesson, behavior greater than intelligence. Being good with money isn't about being smart, it's about managing emotions. You don't need an MBA or perfect market timing. You need patience, discipline, and humility. So the final thought is, if you master your emotions around money, you will always be ahead. Let's see how to apply these lessons today. You don't have to be perfect. Just focus on these 5 habits. 1. Live below your means. Spend less than you make. 2. Invest early and consistently. Let compounding work. 3. Avoid lifestyle inflation. More money doesn't mean more spending. 4. Prepare for uncertainty. Always have a financial safety net. 5. Be patient. Long-term thinking beats short-term emotions. Master these habits, and wealth will follow. That's a wrap on The Psychology of Money. Did you enjoy this audiobook? Which lesson resonated the most with you? Comment below. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more life-changing books.